evening, everyone. Welcome to the Gray Area.
Good evening, everyone. The Gray Area Prayer. God, please open my mind to new ideas, possibilities, and perspectives. Give me the ability to discern the truth. Help me connect with others despite our differences. Let me not lean on my own understanding. Lord, we invite you into this conversation. Have your way. The Gray Area Introduction. Have you ever thought to yourself, what is God's perspective on my situation? Does it align with my perspective? Do I see things the way God wants me to? Introducing the Gray Area. The Gray Area is designed to challenge your thinking. We don't always realize it, but the way we were raised, the things our parents taught us, school, society, and life experiences all play a part in how we think and perceive things. Perception is everything. Shanae and Tashura are both mothers, wives, daughters, friends, ordinary women, yet our goal and number one desire is to please God, integrate His ways and His perspectives into our lives. This isn't always easy, especially when we have been programmed to think a certain way. However, God has purposed us to challenge ourselves and others on their belief systems. Does it align with God's? We often try to see things black and white, wrong and right, good and bad, but this thing called grace and love doesn't allow us to see things so simple. Everyday conversations, discussions, and situations through the lens of God is our prayer. We invite you to listen to our conversation and chime in. Perspective matters. All right, so we're ready to set the table.
So last week we had a discussion on self-esteem, and in extension of that, we actually were having some dialogue about how self-esteem is impacted by social media. I mean, social media at this point is inevitable. I mean, I think almost most people are on the internet, whether it's Facebook, what else is there? There's Instagram, for those that use Twitter, or whatever it may be, people on social media. So just wondering how that has impacted people's self-esteem, especially because we talked a lot about last week external validation. So we'll go right into our Gray Area question, but I thought it would be an interesting conversation to have because I feel like over the last 15 years there has been a shift of where people look for validation and wondering if in today's usage of, just the internet and social media, if that impacts many times how we see ourselves. So going into today's Gray Area question, Tashura.
Today's Gray Area question is, do you think that social media affects your mental health?
So tonight we have Dr. Tay on, who is a psychologist. She's actually also an adjunct professor. She's a mother. She's a minister, as well as a psychologist. And so we're excited to have her on. And just because it's an open dialogue, I just wanted you guys to know who the third person is if we refer to her.
Okay. All right, so I just wanted to, start off just to have people thinking a little bit because I was just blown away by some of these statistics, and I'm super excited to have Dr. Tay on the line to give us some insight in a lot of these things. But one thing that I thought was really interesting that I read is 3.1 billion people worldwide use social media. I thought that was just phenomenal. I think that equates, another statistic was saying 63% of the people in the world use social media, and a staggering number is addicted to social media. So, I think this question of social media and how it impacts our overall mental health, emotions, functionality, well-being, I think it's really big as it's growing, by leaps and bounds over the last few years. So, with further ado, Dr. Tay, how are you?
Yes, I'm here. What do you think about it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So when you asked me to come on, I thought it was a very interesting topic, but it's an extremely important topic. And the one thing that I'd like to start with is there's research and there's statistics about how watching the news and all of the negative news that we
take in on a daily basis and how it affects our mental health. It induces anxiety in certain groups, symptoms of depression in certain groups. And what I thought to myself was, how do most people get the news these days? Through social media. Like, people probably don't watch the news as much as they scroll down their timelines, and they might, follow a news network on Instagram or just get their news based on what other people are posting. So that's one thing that we can take into consideration, the fact that the news impacts our mental health. So that means that social media, whether directly or indirectly, is going to help affect our mental health as well. An example that I use in my classes, often I teach like personality psych and psychology of trauma and disaster. The example I always give is September 11th. With September 11th, we saw the same information on the news. We all saw the same pictures, the same video loops. You line up 10 different people, all of them aren't going to develop symptoms of PTSD. However, everyone is going to be affected in a different way. So again, that's showing how the news affects us. But now, that was September 11, 2001. We're in 2019 right now. You add social media onto that, and that just exacerbates any effects that the news would have on us.
Mm-hmm. Because I'm assuming you get so many different accounts of it as well.
Right, absolutely. And that's just one side of how social media can affect us. I haven't even scratched the surface on, comparing yourself to other people and comparing yourself to their curated content. That's another issue, like self-esteem issues, which I know you talked about last week, that you have so many people who are literally depressed because their life isn't up to Instagram standards or Facebook standards, or they're comparing themselves to the people, their friends and family who they see on Facebook. Oh, she had the baby, and oh, he's married and he has the car. But people fail to realize that social media is curated content. So if I take 10 selfies, I'm not going to post all 10. I'm going to pick the best. So people post pictures and post things about their best moments. So people are really developing symptoms of depression and symptoms of anxiety based on a farce. Not that it's a bad thing that people choose what they post, but the issue comes when people are comparing themselves and molding and shaping their lives.
Hello?
Yes, I'm here.
Dr. K? We might have lost her. For sure. What are your thoughts about what Dr.
Well, I think she was going down the line, and I could definitely identify, with her saying that you try to compare yourself. And I could just use my own personal example because I know where she was going with that, and I know that to be true. And I know for myself, I made a conscious decision to stay away from social media for that specific reason. There was a couple years back where, I think I was on social media and I was looking on there and I saw, I don't even remember who it was. It probably was even somebody I didn't even know. And all you saw was like vacation after vacation after vacation. And I went to, speak to, I think it was my husband. I went to him to speak to him, and he said, I said to him, like, we never go on vacation. When was the last time we went on vacation? We haven't been on vacation and blah, blah, blah. And I'm getting all depressed that the last time I went on vacation, I need a getaway. And, and I'm sitting here comparing myself to someone else's life. And, he said his response to me was like, they got to work sometime. They're not always on vacation. It's like, how do you know? They're just picking those, those moments in their life where they're on vacation, and that's what they're showing. And meantime, right. I'm thinking it's 24/7 vacation that they're on, and I can't live that life. So social media definitely has an impact on our mental health. And I believe that through social media, there's some goods and there's also some bads that go along with social media. And I think we tend to post things, of course, as our best, but we're always looking for likes. And how does everyone feel? I'm just saying from the potential of the like piece of social media, depending on somebody else to like your post to feel validated. I know that's something that is big for many people, how many likes. I remember one time I remember there was like a dance challenge that was out, and everyone was doing this dance challenge. And I think I saw this post of this guy that was doing the dance challenge, and he was literally outside of his vehicle videotaping himself to get a certain amount of likes. I mean, literally risking his life to get likes. So it's the potential for what we're doing in order to get validation from other people on social media, I think has the potential to give us and do so much harm. Does anybody? I mean, I just think that is just so big. People are risking their lives to call in. Hold on one second, everyone. Shanae, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, good. You sound much better. I was just saying that people are risking their lives for the benefits of getting likes on social media, and it just has become this huge thing where people feel like in order to be validated or have even worth, that they are posting these crazy, outrageous videos. And I think everyone realizes nowadays that they have the potential to become like huge celebrities based on what they post on social media. So it's just becoming this huge thing. I read today also, and this is another sidebar, I read today where people, and I think I have the actual statistics, I think they were saying how, I think it was like 40% of the 63% of the people worldwide that use social media are addicted. So out of 63% of people who use social media, 40% are addicted, to the point where they're constantly, even as soon as they wake up, they're on their phone. They're always thinking about ways to use social media, how to use social media, checking social media. I think it's crazy where we are right now with the impact social media has on our well-being as a society. And I don't think we are using this. It's supposed to be a good thing, but I don't think that we're using it to its full potential or in the right way. I think we're all unconsciously using this thing and becoming, thriving, living, getting addicted from it. And, I think the thing we need to focus on right now is how it actually affects our mental health.
I think the piece that's also missing is the human connection. There's this piece where you don't necessarily have to hang out with people or go out. You can just connect with them on social media and message them. But messaging isn't the same thing as having like a face-to-face lunch date with someone, for example. So I think we're losing that human connection. And with that, I think, I would argue, are we losing our ability to be compassionate and empathetic for one another? Because you kind of, that ability to just be able to touch someone and see them smile or whatever, I think is very, very important.
I think that's really, really true. Somebody said to me recently that they felt they were out with a group of friends that took so much, and I know nowadays, and I'm sure a lot of people can identify with this. She told me that it took so much. I think it was like a group of 10 of them. And they were all from college. They were good friends from college, but because of busy lifestyles, they don't always get a chance to, connect. So it took a whole bunch to get everybody scheduled to meet up and hang out, and they all finally get together, and they're sitting at the table, and all of them are on their cell phones scrolling through social media. They have the opportunity to sit at a table together, which they never get together, and they're all sitting on the phone on social media. I think it's now to the point where it forms isolation. It makes you, become isolated, and in a crowd, you can isolate yourself in a crowd. How does that, I think that has to speak volumes when it comes to, just lending to what you said as far as our mental health, the fact that you can be in a crowd and still be isolated when it comes to your phone.
People go out. How many times have people been out to dinner and someone's on the phone the entire time?
Exactly.
It's like people pick up their phone even when it's not even necessary. You can be at a basketball game. That's entertainment in itself, and you're on social media scrolling. Or you can be at home watching TV, and you're on social media scrolling. So it's like this secondary thing that people are doing. If you have a comment or a question, just hit *6, and we'll see you in the queue. Dr. Tay will join us shortly. Dr. Tay, if you could hit *6 and follow the prompts to go in the queue. I would like to hear your response to some of what we're talking about. But I just think that it has become, it's just everywhere. It's everywhere. I think we have 2 people.
Yes.
Okay.
Hi, caller.
Hi, my name is Tashai.
Hello.
Hi. So the question is, does social media affect your mental health? And I think yes. For me, as an example, maybe you guys can relate to, for the passing of Nipsey Hussle. That's how I find out that he passed on social media, and it was constant, it was about 4 days. Consistently, everything on social media was about Nipsey Hussle. And I found myself going down like a little rabbit hole where I watched all his interviews, all his videos, watched, any little thing about Nipsey Hussle. It was like every single day constantly. And I realized it was changing my mood. I was starting to get like sad and depressed because of his passing. And I didn't even know him personally.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. One of the things I was reading in my research is that in addition to the impact, it's like social media causes you to kind of be in this time warp. So, one, it can impact your ability to be productive and just your ability to lose track of time. Like you said, you become part of this, like, time warp and this rabbit hole of just searching and searching and searching. You're looking on someone's profile even, and then you click on their friend, and then you click on that friend. And then by the time it's over, it's like 4 hours have passed, and you're just on your phone. And then meanwhile, everything else around you almost has come to a standstill because you're now scrolling up and down. So I think that's a really great point. I actually found out about Nipsey Hussle on social media myself. So I agree with Dr. Tay in terms of news. I didn't even have to turn on the news to find out what happened. It started with someone's post, and then I went from there. So, yeah, I think that,
Thanks, Tashai.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we have Dr. Tay might be on the next queue. Dr. Tay?
Hey, it's Dr. Tay. How's everyone doing this evening?
Hi, Dr. Tay.
Sorry about that.
So, no problem at all. So I was listening to what Tashai said, and I completely agree. I found out about his passing on Instagram. And honestly, I'm one of those people who wasn't really familiar with his body of work. And I found myself doing the research. Who was this person? Why is there this uproar? Why are people posting so many pictures? And that, listening to Tashai speak, it made me think about vicarious trauma. And we're talking about mental health. Vicarious trauma is essentially you starting to experience the symptoms of experiencing a trauma, not because you've experienced the trauma directly, but you are connected or you're watching someone experiencing the trauma. And in today's day and age, of course, we know that it wasn't a police brutality type of situation with Nipsey Hussle, but it was a black man being gunned down. That in and of itself, because we see it so much on the news, on TV, on Instagram, we see it so much, it does cause a trauma response. in some people, that's another way that social media affects our mental health, because we are bombarded with all of this negativity that's coming through the news or posts, or even if it's something that happened 10 years ago, it's posted. So if we continue to have access to that, or it's flooding our timelines, because let's face it, there's a lot of things that we scroll past that we can't control what we see. I mean, we can, but there are things that pop up on our timeline that we're not expecting to see. I wasn't expecting to see pictures of Nipsey Hussle and saying R.I.P. Like, there are things that we come across that can trigger us, and it's like we have a wound that's left open without a Band-Aid or a dressing or anything, because we can only control what we access on social media. But so much so you have people who are being triggered. Their trauma response is being triggered. Their depressive symptoms are being triggered, all because of what they're scrolling past and what they're seeing when they scroll and what they have access to. Right. Absolutely, because you could be scrolling, you know who you follow, but when you follow so many people, especially on IG, on Instagram, you never know what's going to come up on your feed. So it's like when you're scrolling on any kind of social media network, essentially it's like scroll at your own risk, because you don't know what you're going to see, you don't know what you're going to be triggered by, and not even, it doesn't have to be as serious as trauma. Let's say that you're a woman who has been bombarded with the whole biological clock thing, and when are you getting married? When are you having a child? And someone's posting pictures of their babies, and someone's posting pictures of their marriage or whatever. It might not be trauma, but it's going to elicit a response. Depending on your situation, that's going to determine your response. But, that's an example of something positive being posted on social media. But again, depending on your experience, it might be a trigger. It might elicit a negative emotional response.
That's a really good point.
Yeah, that's a really good point. One other thing that I wanted to bring up, you two, is the cyberbullying. That's like a whole nother piece, and I know that's different, but that's a piece that's, I think that's always plaguing me, because I feel like, and they talk about teens as well, how teens and adolescents are, how they use their phone, and how they're able to connect in the same kind of way, and everyone has access to them. And, back in the days, bullying only happened at certain times during the day. It's like, okay, 8 to 2, when school's over, and you go home. But now the continuous harassment, and they don't even what do they call it now? Roasting, and, the continuous ability to hurt somebody even when they go home. And it's not even just a direct thing where you're just speaking to that person directly, but that person that's doing the bullying has an audience on social media, which tears the other person down. So I just think, there's so many levels to social media and how it can impact your mental health. And I know with just us on a day-to-day, but that's a big piece as well, especially with suicide rates and how they're increasing at staggering numbers for kids and adolescents in certain age groups. I think that, social media plays a huge part with, the accessibility and the amount of time that our young people are spending on social media. What do you guys think about that?
No, I agree 100%. Especially it's a different generation. I think that need for validation for them is from social media. I think for some of us who may be older or in the X generation or whatever, we kind of was on the brink of both. We knew what life was like without social media being at this platform, but I'm thinking of like my younger kids. They came into it, and this is what it is. This is their world. And so this is how kids connect with each other. And given the developmental element of it, kids naturally seek for social acceptance at a certain age point. So I think that that's the dangerous part that we're finding, and I don't feel like there's a lot of efforts to kind of help us manage that. And I think these are more conversations need to be had to talk about what can we do to limit and who's accountable for this,
Yeah. We have a call in our queue. I'm going to just try to add her to the phone call or him to the phone call. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Hi, guys.
Hi,
this is Tommy. Hi, this is Tommy.
Good
I
evening.
just wanted to say that I gave up social media about 3 years ago in a fast, in the Daniel fast. That was my fast with social media. And I don't think that I had any feelings about, like, my mental health. For me, personally, I didn't really care about likes. I didn't care about people's comments. That wasn't my thing. My thing for me was the constant going on it to scroll through and read people's feeds that I really wouldn't be talking to anyway. Most of the people that are my friends, I don't care about what they thought, and I didn't care about their views on politics or their views on others. And for me personally, looking at the photos, I knew it was just a snapshot of something that they were doing and trying to get attention for it. So it wasn't something for me, and I realized that social media in general wasn't something that I wanted to spend my time doing. So I gave it up. I mean, I still have a page, and occasionally I'll go on it if someone asks me a question on Messenger, or I forget someone's birthday and I want to go in to check it. But I just feel like it's just way too accessible to people's lives. And that's the only reason why. That was another big thing why I deleted it. I don't need people to go on it just to view my pictures to get to know me. I just, that was just my thing.
That's great that you made it. I mean, I must say I am a lot happier not utilizing it. Mm-hmm. I struggle with the whole notion of likes, and if I put a picture and are 10 people going to like that picture, does that mean it's a bad picture? If 60 people like it, should I take that picture down? That's just being, like, transparent. It brings you to that place. But I just wanted to comment to what Tommy had said. I think that comes with the level of security, too, when you have the ability to say it's not what others think. But I feel like so many people, going back to our conversation last week, do struggle with low self-esteem or have some areas where they're insecure. And whether they know it or not, or whether it's conscious or not, that validation, it means a little bit to them. And so I think for many of us, I hope this conversation is allowing you to think, like, do I do that? Like, do I really care about the likes? And if you do, it's okay. It's a natural feeling. But just being mindful of where you are in terms of your esteem and your need for validation. What do you think?
I think even with the with the likes, I think regardless of who you are, I think the likes matter. You want people to like you. I mean, I don't think that, I think people, I think people put that up there. The reason why people put that up there is to be recognized and, seen by others. And they know how many people are out there looking.
Well, what do you think the impact was? What do you think the impact would be? And I'm just thinking, like, totally crazy. If I personally feel like Facebook would be amazing if we didn't have the ability to like or dislike. I know that sounds crazy, but I think that like thing is so powerful. You know what I mean? Luckily, they don't have something where you dislike, but not liking and it's just as powerful as saying you dislike the picture, especially if someone's your friend. I'm like, Tashoy didn't like my picture? She didn't see my picture. I don't know. I just think the power of like is just something for us to kind of think about, and I wish that it didn't have that component. If it was just a space where people could kind of like post, and that's it.
I think that's one of the issues among, like, many. Like I said, too, I think, that if we got rid of the ability for other people to like our posts, I think that would definitely help. But then what do we do for those, like I was mentioning, cyberbullying, or the fact that people feel like they can come on and roast somebody else, or your feed that reads all the way down negative reports. News stories, or even the Nipsey Hussle situation, like a lot of it, it's like, to me, it's just a bombard of things. And if you don't know how to receive them,
you can fold really easy. And I think that's what's happening to a lot of people. It's the likes, and it's the it's the people saying this, and then it's the pictures, and then it's it's so much that is attached to it. And I think if we don't strategically deal with social media in the right way, I think it definitely can have major impacts that
we have 2 people in queue. I also just want to mention that I feel like there is no limit to it. I think it's just too open. It's like an open forum with little monitoring or management.
Regulation.
Regulation,
Yep. It's not regulated at all.
I think there's 2 people, if you want to just...
I think Dr. Tay is on also, so...
Yep.
Dr. Tay, did you...
So a couple of things. You mentioned social media being regulated, and I think a related issue is that social media gives a certain degree of anonymity. Yes, like you can post under your name and people know it's you, but you're hiding, maybe not hiding, but you are posting from the comfort of your own home or your bathroom, wherever you do your posting.
True.
And it's not like you can say what you want and people can respond and, they can comment, but it's not like there's going to be a face-to-face confrontation. So because there's this degree of anonymity and this degree of safety, people, I guess this is the converse of having low self-esteem. People think more highly of themselves than they ought, and they say things that they wouldn't say face-to-face. So like with the cyberbullying, I think that that anonymity and that protection, I use air quotes for that protection of social media empowers people who are face-to-face bullies, because now they can say things and do things and, one, rally the troops, so to speak, because it's all about likes, and they can cast a wider net. They have an audience. They have a wider audience than they might have in the bathroom or in the cafeteria. So it almost empowers them. It empowers their behavior. So social media makes the bullying worse. That's one thing I wanted to mention. And also, I lost it. I lost it just that quickly. But I think that it's important that we talk about that piece. Oh, the other thing, talking about bullies and cyberbullying versus, in-person bullying. When we talk about mental health, oftentimes people think, it's the severe mental illnesses. So like generalized anxiety disorder and major depressive disorder and bipolar disorder and those things. But mental health is something that everyone has. It's just a matter of how we manage it. And there are other things that aren't necessarily clinical diagnoses that we really need to look at. So the people who are bullying at school and cyberbullying, what is going on with their mental health? Yeah. And it might not necessarily be a case where their mental health is being affected by social media, but whatever is going on regarding their mental health is kind of the cause for their bullying. Or, you have that person who is constantly, you have the person who's constantly seeking validation on Facebook, let's say. Well, what is it about his or her mental health that's causing them to seek validation on this social media network?
Right. And it's so subtle. That's really good. Another person in queue, caller.
Okay. We're going to let them in. Hi, caller.
Good evening.
Hi, good night. This is Denise. I took a very long time before I went on social media, and my own experience was kind of funny. My great-grand-aunt, my grandmother's aunt, lives in London, and she was on it. And that's my way of reaching out to her and keeping in touch with her. But Facebook itself, not Facebook itself, but I'm a part of a body of believers that I came across this person on Facebook, and my life has changed radically and dramatically in terms of the Bible study that we do and all the prayer that I do every morning with this group. So it can be for a greater cause. And, we got to move with the times, and the times have changed. So we should, as Christians, like you are doing now, reaching out to people. And, there is good in it because the times have changed and we are changing with the times too. We're using it for the greater cause of the kingdom. So it can be good too.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Yes, we definitely need to talk about the good part, because there's definitely a good part. And I think I signed on again recently because I had, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and I deleted everything, and then I realized, it is what we're moving towards, and if we decide to use it, there's also some good in it. There is a way to, spread positive information and also get positive information. I think it's important that you follow people that uplift you and, send you, give you positive energy, and just all of that stuff I think matters. I think using social media mindfully is super important, and not just, there's timers that you can set on it. It doesn't have to be all negative. And like Bernice said, she's found a group that she that has changed her life. And I know my sister, she loves planting, and she's part of this whole plant movement that, does gardening, and she is like super inspired by it as well. So I know there's also really good pieces to it as well. But we have someone else in the queue. I'm going to let them in. Good night.
Hi, it's Stephanie. I just want to piggyback off of what you were just saying as far as social media, that it's not all bad, because a lot of the people and the things that I follow, if it were not for social media, especially the things that go on in our communities that aren't talked about in the news, that aren't brought to the forefront, I wouldn't be informed, and I wouldn't have any clue what was going on if those people weren't out talking about things and things that we can do to change, to empower the community, and things that we can do to empower each other. So it's not all bad.
No, it's definitely not all bad. But I think, I think just like you said, I think sometimes if we're not aware, if we don't do things mindfully, we can tend to go off and, and I'm guilty of that, wasting, an hour on social media, going down the rabbit hole, as they would call it. So I think if you, sometimes you got to be mindful and, unfollow or follow the right people, or the right organizations or the right things, like you just said. Thank you, caller.
Thank you, caller. I think we have one more person in queue.
Yes. Good night.
Hi, guys. It's Tommy again. I heard what everyone said, and I agreed. But I also believe that social media is addictive. And people don't realize that the addiction of waking up, scrolling through your phone first before you brush your teeth, going to bed, scrolling through it, constantly having to have a device in your hand. If your phone is gone, you don't function. Like, it's like a constant thing. You're at a dinner table and they're scrolling through their social media. It is an addiction for a lot of people. Yes, in addiction there's good things, but then when you realize that you rely on something to affect your mood, that is a problem. And I think that if most people take a step back and get off of it for about a week or two, they'll realize how much of it consumes their day, how much they rely on it for everything. I relied on it for birthdays. 90% of people I knew didn't even get a happy birthday this year or the last 3 years, because I totally didn't get a reminder from Facebook. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's my alarm clock. Like, I know some person's going to talk. There's some people who talk every single morning at the same time. And for me, it's like I realized that I was too dependent on social media to give me my news update. What is wrong with picking up the phone or calling people, having basic conversations, to find out what's going on in your neighborhood or what's going on? How do we do it before? Do we have to rely on social media to get it?
I think you raised a really good point. That's really, really good. It's
really addictive. It is. It is addictive.
Can I just read what addiction means, just as we're thinking about the context of social media? And Dr. Tay, if you want to jump in, *6, I believe. It says addiction is a complex condition, a brain disease that's manifested by compulsive substance use despite harmful consequences. People with addictions have an intense focus on a certain substance, and they keep using it even when they know it'll cause problems. And even though, we think of addictions of, drugs, alcohol, and I'm not saying that this fits entirely, but I think you're right. I think, have we ever even thought, like, maybe it is an addiction that we just haven't accepted or it to be an addiction because it's so socially accepted. And because it's socially accepted, it doesn't make it seem like it's that bad. But when you are at
everybody's
work,
doing it.
Right, because everyone's doing it. And when you're at work, you're scrolling, you're on social media. When you're at church, you're scrolling, you're on social media. If you substitute it for drugs and alcohol, it would totally be an addiction. And I'm not saying the magnitude isn't the same. For people that are addicted, I'm not minimizing or trying to put it that way, but I'm just saying if you replace it with that, it really can be because we get so.
It's also taking away relationships. It's taking away relationships. A lot of times you don't communicate. We don't converse anymore. Half the time I know what's going on with my cousin because it was on social media. Why couldn't you pick up the phone and we have a conversation? Our children are not learning how to converse. They don't have relationships. And a lot of times I work in the schools, right? And I go into the schools and I actually treat some of the clients in the schools. And what I realize is there's no reciprocity. These kids cannot communicate. They don't even know how to speak to me. I'm actually trying to open up dialogue just so that they can communicate and understand. And I'll say, no, you have to call me. You have to pick up the phone. No, I'll text you. I'll send you a message on Facebook or Instagram. And I tell them, no, that's unacceptable. You have to communicate with me via the way that I give you. Because they don't even know how to engage or converse. It's going to be a different world that we're raising our kids in if we don't even jump in and change the dialogue, just change the dynamics of the relationship.
And I'm just wondering where that's headed, in the next 10 years.
I just want to throw this in real quick before we take our other callers. There is some psychiatrists actually from Arizona that came up with this thing called the BFAS, and it's the Berg's Facebook Addiction Scale. So there's actually something out there that is measuring if you're, and there's actually a test that they, formulated to gauge whether you're addicted to Facebook or not. So it is something that's really, truly out there. So thank you so much, Tommy, for your comment, and I'm just going to let the next caller in. Good night, caller. I think you might have to unmute your phone.
Hey, everyone. This is Jay from Queens.
Hi, Jay.
Good evening.
Hey. Just wanted to say, because I've been following Nipsey Hussle for a while, and the news about him being shot and killed was first released on Instagram. People who were there, who were at the shooting, were posting videos of it live as the shooting was taking place. And this became viral before the news could even catch up. So, just to say how connected we are on social media, I look at newspapers. Newspapers are dying because social media is so connected. Like, most people don't get newspapers to their house anymore because they can go to social media and even find our newspaper stand there because of how connected we are via social media. People look to, I have friends and stuff like that who look to post stuff first. Like, regardless of whether it's relevant, regardless of whether they verified it to be true or not, people like to just be first in everything. I think of social media like The Sims, and I'm dating myself, but like, social media is this place where you can create an image of whoever you want to be, and good, bad, or indifferent, people will accept it or not. And even if they don't accept it, you can still continue in being that character that you make of yourself. But I definitely find myself having to unplug from it because it will get you to a place where it's like your only source for everything.
Yep. Thank you, Jay. That was good.
I agree. Social media becoming your source. I think we'll let Dr. Tay. So we have went way over our time. So
yes, we did.
Why don't we let Dr. Tay come in with her comment, and if you can just pull some closing words, I'll go, and then Tashura go. Thank you guys for hanging in there. Dr. Tay, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. No problem. I think everyone has really brought up some valid points with regard to how social media has the potential to affect our mental health. To end on a positive note, we've talked about all of the negative ways that social media can affect our mental health, but there are some positives, and just not that I identify with this particular population, but think about the seniors who are on Facebook, like my 82-year-old grandmother. She's on Facebook, and this is a population of people who might not be as mobile as they once were. They are in the later years of life. They are losing people. So Facebook or social media, I mean, my grandmother isn't on Instagram, but Facebook, it gives them the opportunity to be in touch with people that they might not otherwise be able to have connections with. So I think that's one way that one positive that we can, credit social media for, because, the symptoms of depression at that age are so high because they're experiencing so much loss, and not only loss of loved ones and friends, but loss of abilities and declining health and things like that. So social media can actually be a positive thing for seniors because they have connections to the people they have left. So that's one way. That's one positive way that social media can affect, boost a person's mood because they have connections to people that they might not otherwise be connected to.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Tay. I never thought about it that way, especially with the elderly population. And it's like I think another caller stated, it's a way for people to connect with people that live really far and to stay connected. I just wanted, in my closing statement, just to kind of think about the challenge. Before I went there, we always try to do Heaven's Perspective, or at least put some scriptures in there. And one of the scriptures that come to mind, and there's so many, but I'll just go over to Proverbs 17:27-28. It says, "Whoever restrains his words has knowledge, and he who has a cool spirit is a man of understanding. Even a fool who keeps his silence is considered wise. When he closes his lips, he's deemed intelligent." So just knowing that there is a place where we sometimes maybe not need to post or restrain what we say, because one of the things that people do is they use social media as a diary. And once you put it out there, I mean, you can delete it, but once someone reads it, you can't take that back. So I just wanted to, put that out there. And then also the scripture, Proverbs 18:9 says, "Whoever is slack in his work is a brother to him who destroys it." So, we talked a lot about how social media can consume much of our time and energy. But, as I close with tonight's challenge and just encouraging you to keep the conversation going, one of the things I wanted to say is, maybe trying to encourage others to seek validation from themselves as opposed to externally on social media, and really looking for the people that really love you, or like your mom, your dad, your friends. I think those are the likes that you should be more concerned about, people who truly know you. I think that you should maybe, and I'm going to try this, manage your time better, maybe set a timer when you're using social media. Maybe saying, I'm going to set this for 30 minutes. After that, I'm going to go and wash dishes, because if you don't, you'll be there all night scrolling. And I think another challenge for all of us is next time you go out, maybe commit to not utilizing your phone. I did that one time, and it was totally uncomfortable initially. But eventually I got used to it. So I just wanted to include that as tonight's challenge. Tashura?
I thank everybody for listening tonight. I think this was a really good conversation, and I think the thing that we should take away from every conversation that we have here in the gray area is that we're going to be, just more intentional about things, and, setting what our purpose is for doing certain things, and I think social media is one of them. You know, what do you want to get out of it? I mean, of course, we're going to scroll. I mean, that's part of it. But I think if we have some type of balance with social media, I think that's important. And that's pretty much all I want to say about it. I just thank you all for listening, and I ask that all you guys please keep in touch with us. Follow us on all social media platforms. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. You can access our podcast from there. We thank you so much, Dr. Tay, for listening, for chiming in and talking to us today. We really appreciated your input. And we thank all our callers for your support. Have a very good night.
Good night, everyone.